How you going? Gary here from Platform 1 MRC. In this video I'm going to show you how I connect track from the new module to the existing module. Now you can actually araldite a piece of track down onto the end as such, but araldite there may come loose in temperature and what have you, and it may end up off center. What I will be using, well, there'll be two methods described here, and the first one we'll be using copper PCB board. Now, track here, I'll have sleepers removed, a piece of copper clad lined up through here. It'll be screwed down. Of course, the copper won't be this large because we want to disguise it a little bit, and then the track will be soldered onto the rails. Of course, through the middle of the copper here, we will cut a groove there, so there's no polarity issues, you could say. Okay, I've got the copper here clamped down very tight, and I've drawn a line through here and through there, and you can see these four black marks here. Now that's where the gaps are in between the sleepers, so we're going to use this roughly 2mm by 32mm rectangle of copper there. These sections here I'm going to just drill out with an electric drill, then cut it to shape, then notch this out with the Dremel. Going to make a bit of noise here with the drill, see how we go. That drilled pretty successfully. That's one. There we have it. So I've got our four holes through there. Now I'm going to change drill bit and drill a couple of holes in there so I can mount some screws. Before I actually drill a couple of holes in here to mount the screws, what we'll do, we'll put this piece of track up against here, and as you can see where the holes are is roughly where the sleepers will be. So what we don't want to do is actually drill the holes where we're going to put a cut through the copper clad. So if we go down the middle here, just going to make a mark through there. We can see we've got that mark about there. So what we want is perhaps a drill hole about there and another one up the top there, away from where we're going to solder the rails. One mounting hole, two mounting holes. I'll just take that out for you. Sorry about the wobble. There we have it. Okay, we've got all the four, or six holes drilled I should say. So you can see when I lay that over that, well it's actually that way because we want the larger piece of copper to be at the edge of the baseboard. We've got our gap between the sleevers, and we're going to have enough meat there, you could say, or copper, to be able to solder these rails down to. Now when I look here, I can see that the opposite drill hole here is a little bit under the rail. It's actually under that sleeper. So hopefully we'll get away with that up there. This one will be fine. What I'll be doing next is actually cutting this section out of here, then I'll cut this line, then notch that out. So we end up with a almost sleeper-like shape. So I've got this clamped in position so I can cut through here, etc. Whenever you're using one of these cutting discs, always wear safety glasses. I mean, these are only thin, and when they explode, they can go anywhere. Okay, I've got my goggles on. And this way. Well, there you go. You can see how easy it is to cut this with a cutting disc. Now I'm going to actually remount the board so I can cut the other lines. As you can see, these discs don't last too long cutting the PCB board. I'm just going to turn this piece around, put a new disc in, then cut the other piece in half. Okay, I've got a new cutting disc in, not the same one as before. We've got a black one here. Should do the same thing though. Well, there's our elevation. The black discs cut quicker. doesn't wear as much. Now I'm going to undo this, slide this piece of copper clad over so we can cut out the notches on this side. Okay, we've got that in place. Time to cut. Well, as you can see, I went a bit too thin there, but we've still got plenty of solder onto it. This is only to represent sleepers on the end here, so we'll see how we go with that. Looking at how that's come out, it's not too bad. I know which side's going to be away from the viewer, which will be this. The holes that I drilled for the little screws aren't too bad, because we're just going to use tiny little screws that won't interfere with the wheels of the wagons or locomotives. But that's not too bad. What I've got to do now is scribe a line through the centre here, and that'll stop any polarity issues. Okay, it's been cut through, as you can see. Our little copper clad sleeper for joining the tracks to the end of the baseboards is done. I can go screw this in place on the layout, bring the track up to it, offer it to it, solder it down into place, and then we can nail glue the rest of the track down to the layout baseboard, and we're in business. Okay, back out to the layout. Alright, we're back out here at the layout, and as you can see, there is a slight step between this rail and the existing rail. You can actually hear it click as the wagon goes over. You can actually see the wagon drop. So what we'll do there, we can either use a piece of cardboard, just a thin piece under the copper clad, and if that's soaked in super glue or CA, that'll go hard as. Another alternative is a piece of styrene sheet. Now looking at that, we're around about, I'd say 0.5 millimetre to 0.75 millimetre. So I might even go through my styrene box and see what I've got there, and if I've got the right piece, I'm going to slip it under the copper clad before I actually solder anything into position, or fix this into position anyway, because this is all still loose. Okay, back soon. Okay, in my box I found a piece of 15 thou sheet, which is 0.04 of a millimetre. That has proved to be the right choice in thickness under there. So I'm going to cut out a small piece, just a little bit larger than the copper clad there, secure it down with some CA, and then we can screw down the copper clad sleeper and solder our track on from there. Okay, that 40 thou strip's been super glued down. Now I know some other modelers out there will say to seal the actual timber first before super gluing down. I'm not going to worry about that. The reason being, we're actually going to glue down and screw down the copper clad that we've got. So I'm going to apply a little bit of super glue to the bottom of the copper clad sleever that we've made and get that into position on the layout. So we're going to almost butt that right up to the join there. I'm just going to check that to make sure we've got plenty of meat there to solder onto. Yep, that's not looking too bad. I've still got plenty of room there for the solder and also for the screws to go into the holes. I know you can't quite see it, but you can see this hole over the back here, which is fine. And that's just a nice smooth transition. Alright, until I get all this tracking glued into position, screwed into position here, and then it's a matter of carrying on the track work throughout the layout. Okay, this is where I'm going to place the controller printed circuit board sleepers. Now what I've been advised is to actually araldite them down into position. So to do that, I'll just move these out of the way. I've made a pencil mark each side of the sleepers, and I'll be removing 4 sleepers from each side. Now I'm going to take those 4 there, those 4 there, leaving that end one there, and I'll be clearing this off the back here. Once that's in place, I wouldn't mind actually drilling through the center of the sleeper and putting like a track pin or a panel pin down through the sleeper to give it a little bit more reassurance when moving the layout. Araldite should be fine, so I've been told, so I'm going to go with that. Okay, we're back here with the controller printed circuit board sleepers, and what I've done is drilled 4 little holes in the sleepers there down the center. I just want more of a permanent fixture, so I'm just going to tap this one in. Now I can't get all the way down, and I really need a punch Now if you don't have a punch, what you can do is use a small bolt. So I'm just gonna, sorry my hands are in the way, tap that in, tap that in, tap that in. Good thing about a bolt is because you have this edge around the rim here, you won't go down and hit the sleeper hard. There we go. Now they are firmly into place. Now there is a little bit of glue on the back of these to hold them in place, so they shouldn't budge. I'm just going to leave that now, and when we come back we're going to solder this into place. Now as always, I like to throw a bit of flux around. I'm just going to run that down the outside edge. And that should be enough in there to wick under, wick around, because this is all going to be wiped clean with isopropyl when we're finished. Okay, we're ready to run a little bit of solder in here. I'm just going to start on this corner here. We'll get some heat into the rail. Now I'm going to find that block of timber I had before, because I don't really want to burn my fingers. Carefully blow that smoke out of the way. That's one. Just going to go over to the back here. Heat onto the rail. Get some heat in there. And a blob of solder in. Hold that down. Let it flow in. 2. Now I know you can't quite clearly see this. It's just the way I've got the camera. Maybe if I bring the camera around the other side, you'll be able to see, so just bear with me for a minute. Well, there you go, that should be a little bit clearer for you. You can see what I'm doing now. Take the iron, the solder, I'm just going to go back over the back here, heat onto the rail, hold it down, lucky last here. You can see the solder in there. Some nice heat onto the rail, onto the. I don't know if you can see how well you can see that, but look, that's permanently down. We're going to leave it at that, folks. Once I clean up all this excess solder on top, we should be right to go. We should be able to cut through here like I did with the other one. I'll give this a wipe down, a clean up, and a wash with some isopropyl. Then I'll come back and we'll cut the rail. Alright, that's all been cleaned up. I know this looks a bit grotty in through here, but once it's painted and ballasted it will look fine. Now I'm just going to cut these rails. I'm just going to put my glasses on first. Here we go. There we go, folks. So that's pretty much job done apart from painting the actual the track. So we'll leave that. I might even run the file over the side of the webbing down through here and just check the insides as well. Always run a car over it just to make sure. Actually, we've got a rail box right here. No, that's not too bad. There we go, folks. So look, these proved to be quite worthwhile. So if you Google Control It, model railway accessories, you'll find these on the page. Anyway, I'd like to thank Marty for sending this out to me. Appreciate it, Marty, for a trial and see how it works. And I'm pretty impressed with it, even though my soldering's not A grade. It's probably not even B grade, let alone C grade. But look, it'll do the trick anyway. Thanks, Marty, and everybody out there, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Cheers, Gary.